Antes de começar este vídeo, algumas orientações importantes, porque vocês sabem, runner ajuda runner. Se inscreva, curta e compartilha. E agora bora pro vídeo! First of all, Chris, thanks to give me this opportunity to talk in my channel. This is your first time that you are talking to Brazil, and this is an honor to me. And my first question to you is about Badwater 135. I would like to know how it was born. Tell us a little bit about the story.
Okay, so what's unique specifically about the Badwater 135 route is that you start at the lowest point in North America and you run to the tallest mountain in the 48 states of continental America. Mm-hmm. So of course, a long time ago, people noticed that these 2 points were relatively near one another. And so people started hiking the route. Mm-hmm. And the first people that I know of who hiked the route did it in the 1960s. Mm-hmm. In the 70s, runners started going out as 2-person relays and switching off running the route. But there was a man who lived in Northern California named Al Arnold, and he was the manager of a health club, and he was really strong and motivated and kind of a fitness guru, and really ahead of his time. And he wanted to run the route solo. Mm-hmm. And so he went to Death Valley in 1974 and tried to run the route, but he dropped out. And then he tried again in 1975 and he dropped out. Mm-hmm. Then he took 2 years off and he came back in the summer of 1977 in August, because of course he wanted to do it at the hottest part of the year. He didn't want to just cover the route. He wanted to do it in the most extreme conditions. And so he came in 1977, and on his third attempt, he was successful. And he completed the route from Badwater Basin at the bottom of Death Valley to actually the top of Mount Whitney in about 81 hours. Mm-hmm. And nobody had done this before. He was the first one. And so that was 1977. And he got some media coverage, and the word started to get out that somebody had accomplished this. And so other runners came along attempting to do it as well. And the next one to do it successfully and faster was a man named Jay Birmingham in 1981. And he did it, and he went faster than Al. And so that we say the race began, first Al created and proved that it was possible in 1977. And then Jay Birmingham in 1981 did it faster. And then the actual race began in 1987 with just 4 runners. It was a British man and a British woman versus an American man and an American woman. Mm-hmm. And that was in 1987, and all 4 of them finished. And that was when it began. And then ever since, it's been held each year. But it really started kind of as just an adventure run for people to do. And then it was this adventure run with 4 runners. And but that was how it all began. And we've been running in the footsteps of those pioneers now ever since. And, and it's still the same, concept and route and difficulty and heat. Mm-hmm. There's more people running and more people watching, at least through the internet. Now we have people from all over the world coming to compete.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So in 1987 was just 4 runners, and in the last edition, how many runners was?
Well, we invite 100 each year, and we've never had 100 actually start. Mm-hmm. We've had as many as 99, and so usually there's 90 something, and so this year it'll be about 90 because we have quite a few. We still have foreign runners who are not able to travel to the United States yet. So, maybe we'll only have about 90 this year, but we invite 100 each year.
Ah, okay, okay. And the Brazilian people and all over the world know your race as the world's toughest. What made Badwater 135 the world's toughest?
Well, first, I like to point out it's the runners who say this.
Really?
So it's one thing for the race director to say it, but it's another for the runners to say it. Our race is invitational. And so people can only enter our race after they've done many other tough races. And so the people who come to our race are the world's toughest runners, and they tell us that it's the world's toughest foot race. As for why, obviously the heat is a big factor because Death Valley is officially the world's hottest place. It's also extremely dry. The second is that the course is all on paved roads, and so the pounding is hard on the body, and there's a lot of elevation gain and loss during the route. And so first is the heat. Second is the course is extremely difficult with 3 major mountain passes. And third is the competition, because a course can be tough, but what really makes it tough is when you bring 100 of the best athletes together and they push one another to their best performance. And that is also what makes it tough. And then at the same time, you've got the whole world watching. And so there's a lot of sort of peer pressure, psychological pressure on the runners to perform well. All of that makes it the world's toughest foot race.
Yes, yes. the people always talk about. I could have a runner in the team that I participate here, and he participated in Badwater in 2018. Pedro Cianfarani, and he talked to me about the difficulties of the race. The race is so difficult.
Yeah. It really is, and that's why each runner has to have a support crew that drives along with them and takes care of them, because it's so extremely hot that many of the runners are getting support every 1 kilometer, or 2 kilometers or 3 kilometers at the most. And I like to seriously and also jokingly say, we don't have aid stations on the route because the volunteers would die. And so the support crews are make it possible for the runners to complete this route.
Yes, yes. Pedro said to me, when you are running, you need to run on the white stripes of the road because of the heat of the.
Yeah, it makes a big difference because the black pavement of the road absorbs the heat, and it makes it really hot. And so if the air temperature is 50, 53, the air from the sun, if that is what you feel coming from the roads might be 75 degrees. And a lot of people wear long socks or leg sleeves or even long pants because there's so much heat coming off the road and hitting their legs. So running on the white line, the stripe, is cooler. And a lot of the runners do that for that reason. And the same reason they wear white clothing, white shoes, just to try to reflect some of the heat away from their body.
Yes, yes. As a curiosity, what was the highest temperature during Badwater?
I don't know that I've ever tracked that officially. But I do know in 2018, at the start of the race, which is at sunset, it was 48 centigrade or 118 Fahrenheit at the start line. And then during the day, it was up to 53 centigrade or 127 Fahrenheit. And I'm sure we've had years that were hotter than that.
I have recorded on when I was running in 2006, I have from my inside car 135 Fahrenheit.
Lots of cars say that, but that's not totally accurate. The official world record for the highest temperature ever recorded was in Death Valley, and it was 134 Fahrenheit, and that is about 57 centigrade.
Yes.
So it's it's a question of how and where the temperature is recorded.
Mm-hmm.
For the world records, there are very specific ways it has to be recorded, a certain distance above the ground and in the shade and things like that. And of course, we don't run in the shade.
Yes.
So what the runners experience is hotter than the shade temperature.
Yes, yes. The most curious is that here in Brazil we have 40 degrees here. We have high temperatures here, but the athletes, when go to Badwater, they say to me, "This is unbelievable. The heat in there. It's so different from Brazil."
Yes,
Yes.
it is, because the air is so incredibly dry.
Yes.
And so that's a big difference from humidity. And also there's wind and there's dust and sand blowing in the wind. And so there are other things that sort of compound the heat and make it feel even stronger. And also when you're running, you're exercising and your body is warming up inside. And
Yes.
so that's why one of the tricks to surviving the Badwater ultramarathon is to not run too fast.
Mm-hmm.
Because the faster you run, the more you generate heat inside your body.
Mm-hmm. Yes, this is true. I have a little story that Pedro Cianfarani said to me. He was running beside with his support, his wife, and they are during the night, and she had an hallucination that she saw a castle in the desert. Oh, Pedro, there is a castle in there, but there wasn't a castle.
People do that, when you don't sleep, your mind starts doing funny things.
Yes.
Although there actually is a castle in Death Valley,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not on the race route.
Ah, okay.
So if you see a real castle during the race, then you've made a wrong turn.
Ah, okay.
But yeah, people hallucinate every year, especially the second night.
Mm-hmm.
Is even more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the challenge of the race. And it's also an organizational challenge because the crew members need to have a system where they do sleep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because they need to be fresh to take care of the tired runner.
Yes. And I think the heat make it more faster, this kind of hallucination, the heat, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Also, when it's hot, you don't feel like eating. And it's impossible to drink enough. And so the whole body is having big challenges during the race.
Mm-hmm.
And not just for the runner, for the support crew also. Everybody involved with the race is in the heat.
Yes.
And, almost constantly in the heat. And so the support crew members and my race staff
Mm-hmm.
have to really make a big effort to take care of themselves,
Mm-hmm.
Not just focus on the runner.
Yes. Did you have some curious stories about hallucination during the race?
Yeah, I mean, people see all kinds of things, like when there's cracks in the road, and the road highway department will put like tar just on the cracks to fill them in, and so you see those lines on the road, and people thinks it looks like hieroglyphics, or that somebody's writing messages to them. They'll see the cactus or the Joshua trees or other things, and they'll think it's people. Lots of different things. But then at the same time, there's a lot of strange things in the desert, and you might be running the Badwater 135 and have a U.S. military jet not even 50 meters over your head. And you might see wild donkeys right next to you, running along next to you, and coyotes and other types of animals and snakes and tarantulas and all kinds of things, and people will see that, and it's actually there.
Okay. It would scare a lot, I think.
Yeah.
And tell me about what is the altimetry gain in Badwater 135?
It's about 4,500 meters going up, and about 1,900 meters going down, if you add it all together. Basically, there are three major mountains on the race course. And the first one is about almost 30 kilometers, and then the second and the third ones are like 20 kilometers each. of climbing. And because you start at the lowest point, you do one big mountain range to leave Death Valley, and then another mountain range to leave the next valley, which is called Panamint. And then you finally have a half marathon, 22-kilometer climb of about 1,600 meters to the finish. So there's a lot of climbing and 2 big downhills, and about half of it is flat, but that's still a lot of climbing. But some of the runners tell me that what makes it, they prefer races where you're going like this versus just flat all night long, and then climbing, for 5 or 6 hours, and then going downhill for over 2 hours. That because you're doing the same thing repetitively so long, whether it's the flat, the up, or the down, that makes it seem harder than just the numbers.
Yes. I think it is because of the muscles that you will use in your legs, I think.
Yeah. And whenever you do something over and over and over thousands of times, it starts to break your body down and also your mind.
Yes, for sure. I think this interview, we will have Brazilian ultramarathons that never had done Badwater before, and I would like that you tell to us what an athlete must know before going to Badwater 135 for the first time.
Well, they should know it's the world's toughest foot race and that it's harder and hotter than they can imagine. So like you said, runners live in hot countries like Brazil or maybe in Florida of the United States where it's hot, and then they come to Death Valley and they're just shocked at how much hotter it is and how much drier it is. So it's really important for people to not underestimate the difficulty of the race. Like a lot of people live in a hot climate and they think, oh, okay, I can run in the heat, that's no problem. But they really need to train in a dry sauna to train their body to get ready for the heat. And these are the reasons why we really encourage people who want to compete in the race to come to the race on a support crew first, so that they have the direct experience with the conditions of the race and the rules of the race and the competition of the race before they do it themselves. It's not required, but it's highly recommended and it's very helpful.
Yes, I could imagine it. We have the athletes that done Badwater, they tell about that they need to go to Badwater some days before the race and trying to adapt with the heat.
That certainly helps, but it actually takes quite a bit of time to acclimate to the heat. The best thing to do is to start 4 weeks before traveling to the race with a dry sauna and go in there every day. And we actually have a schedule on our website in one of our Badwater University articles that explains you go in and you set it for a certain temperature for a certain amount of time. And you just have to sit there and absorb the heat and drink water. You don't even need to exercise. You need your body to learn to sweat more efficiently and to tolerate the heat. And so the best thing to do is to train in the sauna for 4 weeks, then come to Death Valley 3-4 days ahead of the race. But some people like to train in the sauna and then just come directly to the race with no extra time in between. Because when you're actually in Death Valley, every time you exhale your breath, you're losing water. And so some people like to train in the sauna at home and then just fly in, arrive the day before the race, and then start racing because they don't want their body to get so dry from being in those extreme conditions for several days before the race. But other runners come out a week early and train. Others come out on trips leading up to the race and they travel there and they train on the course. It's super important to prepare for the heat. People who don't prepare for the heat have big challenges. And those, with the sauna training program that we have on our website, we have runners coming from cold countries like Norway and Finland and places like that where it's never hot,
Yes.
and they come and successfully do the race because they've prepared the body for the heat.
Yes, yes. I think they don't have still courses or to train to Badwater, I think, because of the cold in there and
and so some of those, they use a sauna to get used to the heat training, and then other people even train, like they will put a treadmill in their house and they'll wear 3 layers of clothes and rain jackets and hats and gloves. And some of them even will put it in their laundry room, and they'll take the vent from the dryer that has the hot air from the dryer, and they'll put it pointing at them, and they'll just run into that, or they'll use a hair dryer, like for drying your hair, and they'll set it in front of them and just run into it. And some people go in their car in the hottest time of the day, they keep the windows up, and instead of the air conditioning, they put the heat on as strong as possible, and they sit in the car or drive in the car for an hour. All of these things help. People just need to take it seriously, and many people do all of that, and then they come to the race and they find it actually quite comfortable. And when they get up in the mountain passes, like up 1,500 or 2,000 meters, they'll actually feel cold. Which is incredible.
Yes, yes.
Now, at night, at the finish line, it is cold, but only because we're up so high, whatever it is, 2,600 meters. But the rest of the course, it's never cold, but they will feel cold if they did all of their heat training properly.
Yes, yes. The ultramarathoners are so creative.
Yeah, that's part of the sport, is being creative and learning to adapt to different conditions and experiences, which people do during races, but for this race, they really need to prepare themselves before they come.
Yes, yes, for sure. And considering the difficulty of Badwater, historically, how many athletes don't complete your race in percentage? Do you have this number?
Yeah, it has gotten, the finishing rate has gotten higher over the years, and the finishing times have gotten faster over the years, because there's more and more information available about how to train, how to heat train, how to eat and drink, how to organize your support crew, what to wear, all of those things. And so in recent years now, we have about an 80% finishing rate on average. So 20% don't finish. What's interesting is that first-time entrants are more likely to finish than veterans. Veterans of the race, even though they have the experience, are more likely to drop out, which is interesting, and I could analyze that, but I won't. But yeah, so it's about 80%. So there are many races in the world which have much lower finishing percentages. But that doesn't mean that their race is tougher than ours. What that means is they just let anybody enter those races, or they have very low standards to enter the race. For our race, we have very high standards to apply, and then we select the runners, and we're looking for the runners that are most likely to finish. And that's why we have a high finishing rate, even though it's the world's toughest foot race.
Yes, yes. And you have qualifiers races as Brazil 135 that are so difficult, and they could prepare.
Exactly.
Yes.
So they're, to submit an application to our race, applicants must have done at least 3 races that are 100 miles or longer, or they have to have done the Brazil 135 and a 100 kilometer or longer race, and that helps us to determine, which are the best runners to invite to the race. But certainly runners of the Brazil 135 have got the best experience because they've run the distance, they've run through the mountains, they've run in the heat, they've run with a support crew, or most of them have. And, that's one of the main reasons we love the Brazil 135, because it's a fantastic race and it's super hard and it's well organized. And so people who do that race have a high finishing percentage at our race.
Yes, yes. The people that run Brazil 135 run through the heat, run through the storms, run through the cold, run through mountains, run for every conditions. Mario could tell to us.
Completely true.
Yes.
Sometimes we have hail. We have hail on the race. It's cold. Yeah, we had all kind of crazy things.
Yep. And we've actually had rainstorms also, which people are shocked by, but we've had this much water going across the road.
Really?
Almost half a meter 1 year. And so it can rain. It's not common. Death Valley is one of the driest places in the world, but it has rained there, and it has rained closer to the finish line a lot. We've also had a fire at the finish line, and we've had swarms of insects. So I like to say that Badwater is like stories from the Bible.
With grasshoppers.
Yeah, exactly.
This I didn't know about.
Yeah.
And about the countries that attended Badwater, not considering the USA athletes, but which country had more athletes in your race?
Well, I looked at the statistics, and in terms of finishers of the race, the most have come from the United Kingdom. England, Scotland, Wales. We've had 48.
48.
Second is Germany with 46. Third is France with 32. And fourth is Brazil with 30 finishers out of 35 starters.
Okay. And the two champions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So Brazil has a really good record at our race. We've had winners, and it's got a very high finishing rate, which is fantastic. So.
And also hold record.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
For 10 years.
Yeah.
Valmir Nunes.
Yeah, Valmir. Super Valmir had the record for 10 years. So yeah, it's Brazil, Brazil is famous for its athletes, so it's not a big surprise. I mean, even as a kid here in America, I knew who Pele was. And so, Brazil's got a strong sporting culture, and that helps. But the most important thing is that you've had the Brazil 135 there for so many years and other ultra races. And so Brazil is developing so many great ultra runners because of what's been happening there with Mario and the other race directors in the last 15 years. And I love having people come from Brazil. They're always friendly. They're always fun. And they have like every kind of background, kind of like people in America. Like Brazil people might be European, they might be Caribbean, they might be African, they might be Spanish, like they have, you have people from all over the world in Brazil, just like America has.
Yes.
And so I'm always interested when people come from Brazil, like I know they're going to speak Portuguese, but I have no idea what they're going to look like. And I always think that's really cool. Like, I love having as many countries and cultures represented in the race as possible. And that's been my goal from the beginning. In fact, when I took the race over after the 1999 race, the previous organizer told me he didn't let people in the race who didn't speak English.
Really?
Yeah. And I grew up traveling and learning languages and with parents who were teachers who valued all cultures and everything. And so I was lucky to travel for over 2 years when I was growing up. And then when I was at the university, I studied archaeology and I worked across the Middle East and South Asia. And so when I took over the Badwater 135, starting with the 2000 race, my goal was for it to be the Olympics of ultra running, the world championship of ultra running. And the first race that I organized, the first 5 finishers were from Russia, Slovenia, Japan, Russia. And then the first American was 6th place. And the Russian men and women in the top 5 broke the records. And so that to me sort of established this is the modern era of the Badwater 135, where people come from all over the world, from as many countries, from as many cultures, from as many languages, religions, everything as possible. They come to Mother Nature's greatest sports arena and compete in the world's toughest foot race.
Yes, this is fantastic. You are telling about the culture mix in Brazil. Me, for instance, I am descendant from Spain and Italy.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah, and you know, I just love that. I mean, Brazil is a huge country, and you've had people coming there from all over the world for centuries, like our country, and so. But they're all Brazilians, and everybody speaks Portuguese, right? And so it's always a pleasure to have Brazilian runners and crew members at the race.
Yes, great. And let's tell a little bit more about Brazil 135. I would like to know about your relationship with Mario Lacerda, how it was born.
Well, Mario came to the race in 2005. He didn't finish, and then he finished in 2006. And he was so positive and so full of energy, even after his first race, that I said to him, why don't you go back to Brazil and start a sister race there, the Brazil 135? And he looked at me and realized I was serious, and he went home and he did it. Now, if I could just get everyone in the world to do what I tell them to do, the life would be perfect. But so he did that, and he did a test run with 10 friends in 2006, and then the first official race was 2007, and now it's been 14 years. And, you know, it's just been great that we have this sister race there and a special relationship between the two races.
Yes.
And I think Mario's been to Badwater almost every year since then. He comes on a support crew or to spectate and help me, or to, you know, support the different Brazilian runners and to represent his race. And, you know, he's a super Badwater person, and we all love Mario, and everybody knows Mario by his first name. If you say Mario to anyone in the Badwater family, everybody knows it's Brazil 135 race director Mario Lacerda.
Thank you for your kind words, Kostman.
My pleasure.
This is fantastic. And you said to me that Mario always attended your race, Badwater.
I know what you're going to ask me, but go ahead.
Did you come to Brazil sometimes, or will you come to Brazil?
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed to admit I have not been to the Brazil 135 yet.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. But next year.
Next year.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Let's all finish this crazy pandemic, and then I'll come visit.
Okay. We're gonna meet in there, because I will attend Brazil next year in the 8 miles race.
Great.
Yes, I did my first race in Brazil this year with my colleague. I forget how to say when you do in two runners.
Relay.
Yes. And I know the Brazil and the difficulties in there this year, and next year I will go by my way in there.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Good luck. Well, I hope I can be at the finish line when you finish, and I can say parabéns.
Parabéns.
Good job. Good job.
Yes. And about the race, a little bit more about the Badwater. I want to know a curiosity that we have here, because you had the decision to change the start in 2015 in Badwater to PM start. Why did you have this decision? Because the race always started in AM.
Well, first, actually in the 90s, for 5 or several years, the race did start in the evening. So actually the race has been held several times in the 90s with an evening start. But in 2015, 2015, the PM start was basically forced upon us by the National Park Service, where the race starts. The National Park Service controls basically the first 2/3 of the race route. And they did a big analysis of the race and other sporting events, running and cycling, that were being held in the national park. And they decided they wanted to change certain things. And one of the changes was going to an evening start. And so it wasn't our decision, but we accepted it. And it's been great. It's a little different. It's still the same route. Now that we've had an evening start 5 times, most of the runners who've done both would say that it's actually harder to start at night for several reasons. One, they've already been up all day and they immediately go into sleep deprivation right from the beginning. And they start the race tired because people can't normally sleep during the day and really rest properly. And so the sleep deprivation is a bigger issue. And also, Death Valley is the first 59 miles or 95 kilometers of the race route. And then you go over one valley that's almost as hot. And then you climb out of that valley. And so the second big mountain climb of the race, before people would do it at night. Now they do that one during the day. And so that's actually harder because they're doing the second major mountain climb of the race during the day instead of at night. And they're tired. They've gone over halfway. And now they're doing this major mountain during the day. So it's, the race has changed in different ways throughout the years, but the essence of the race is always the same. It's from Badwater Basin to Mount Whitney on those roads. And so it's changed, but it's the same, but it's different, but it's still the same.
Yes. Other curiosity and the other question that Brazilian ultramarathoners, I see them they doing, and it's my curiosity also. Valmir Nunes held the record since 2007, and it was broken in 2016 and in 2019. Do you think that this record broken is something about with this time changing, starting or not?
No, because records always get broken. To hold a record for as many years as he did is incredible. And that represents what an incredible achievement he made. But every record is eventually going to get broken.
Yes.
And I think it was just those years that it was broken, we had a really, really high level of competition with the top runners pushing one another.
Yes.
And they came in with really strong resumes. In fact, in 2019, the men's record and also the women's record were both broken. But they were broken by the man and the woman who had won the Spartathlon race in Greece the previous summer, which is a 150-mile road run in summer in Greece. That's probably the most similar race to Badwater 135 in the world. So, so that's how I look at it. That also from one year to the next, the weather changes at the Badwater 135. In fact, when I was there watching the race in 1999, it didn't get hot at all. It actually got to, it was only about 38 degrees that year. But it actually rained and it was humid, which was strange, and people weren't expecting that. They'd been training for dry heat. So, the temperature varies from year to year, the wind varies from year to year, and the competition varies from year to year. And so, the fact that Valmir held that record for almost 10 years is incredible. But eventually it was going to be broken, just like the women's record.
Yes, for sure.
And everybody's getting faster. You know, we used to have a 60-hour finishing time, and then we dropped it to 48. And maybe someday in the future it'll be 42 hours. I don't know. Because people keep getting faster and faster because they're all getting smarter and smarter, and they're training better and better. And every year that the race happens, more people put out more information about how to do it well. And, you know, I can guarantee you that the people who broke Valmir's record studied Valmir and studied his times and learned about him, so that when they went to the race, it wasn't a coincidence that they broke the record. They had been doing their homework, and they had been preparing properly to try to break it.
Yes, for sure. You have a point. I think this is...
Yeah. Do you remember, Chris, when Farinaz was running, when he finished as a champion, he showed you a piece of paper with all the Valmir times?
Yeah.
He broke all of them but the last.
Yep.
So everybody was really studying.
Yeah, they've got it on a piece of paper. I've seen people have written it on their arm or on their leg, or they've, you know, like they come with a plan. But I tell you, it's very hard to have a perfect race at the Badwater 135. Just like you're saying with Farinazzo, it's like he was on that perfect schedule until the final climb, and then you've got that half marathon climb to the finish line, and you know, he didn't break it. So it's more common to, when a sport is new or when a race is new, the records get broken very quickly. It's like every year or two, people are breaking records and going faster. But eventually you have so many people doing a certain sport or doing a certain race that it's hard for people to stand out. But they still will. There will still be people who will be able to go a little bit faster. And I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, 10 years from now, somebody breaks 20 hours.
Wow.
It could happen. I mean, in almost everything, people do get faster and stronger, you know, in every sport. You look at any sport there is, and it happens. But initially, the times, you know, the records are going like this, you know, they're really breaking them quickly. Then it becomes like this with just the occasional special thing that's slowly over time improved. When you look at the history of it, it's really interesting. You know, whether you're talking about the mile record or the 100-mile record or the 24-hour record or the Badwater 135 record, you know, it's the same thing. So, and also our race is bringing people from all over the world. And so we're bringing people from all over, whereas the Brazil 135 is mostly Brazilian runners. And so you're finding the best Brazilians, but until they go to an international race, they don't necessarily see how they're doing. And, you know, if we could magically get all of these sponsors and bring, you know, 30 foreign runners who are top runners to the Brazil 135, you know, then you would see records breaking also, you know, more often or with bigger changes.
Yes.
But, you know, I think as the pandemic ends, that starting next year, you're going to see more people traveling international than ever before, because people value travel so much more now after what we're going through, that they're going to want to do it more than ever. And plus, once everybody watches this interview that we're doing, they're all going to want to come to Brazil. So,
yes.
You know, and it's really sad. This year, we don't have any runners from Brazil.
Really?
Because of the travel restrictions.
Yes.
So we were supposed to have Rafael Bonato, but he can't come. And, you know, it's really unfortunate. We're only going to have a few runners coming to the race from foreign countries. We have other nationalities who live in America, which is great, who will participate. But in terms of actual foreign nationalities living in foreign countries, we're only going to have a handful, you know, maybe only 6 or 7 or 8 this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be surprised if this year's race is totally dominated by Americans. But you know, probably not in record times,
Mm-hmm.
because they won't have the top from all over the world coming.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm happy to be proven wrong. You know, sometimes the new record holder goes into first place right away, and they go all the way to the finish like that.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the case, then it doesn't matter who the other runners are.
Mm-hmm.
But normally the way it works is 2, 3, 4 runners are really racing, pushing each other for 200 kilometers, and it's only near the last 20 kilometers that the race is decided.
Mm-hmm.
That's more exciting. But you know, every year I go to the race knowing anything is possible.
Yes,
We could have lots of people drop out, like we did in 2018. We could have a really fast race. We could have not a fast race, but still very competitive.
Mm-hmm.
We could have, my dream is that everyone finishes.
Mm-hmm.
It never happens, but that's my goal every year. I invite 100 runners. I produce 100 Badwater 135 belt buckles, the awards,
Mm-hmm.
and I hope to give away all 100, but it still has never happened.
Yes. You can
So-
also see the difficulty of your race.
Yeah. I mean, but maybe someday. Someday my dream is that everybody finishes, and that would be fantastic. I'm at the finish line for every finisher, and I give them their buckle and take photos, and it means a lot to me to be there for that experience. I really enjoy it, and someday I'll be able to do it for everybody.
Yes. How many athletes will attend this year, Badwater?
Probably about 90. Right
90.
now we have 90.
Mm-hmm.
We had quite a few people in foreign countries that have pulled out because they can't get here. And then we've had a few Americans that have an injury or something else. And once I'm about 2 months out from the race, I don't want to bring in somebody from the wait list, because the race is too hard to train for, too hard to prepare for, too hard to organize the support crew, the vehicle, the hotel rooms, the equipment. I don't want somebody trying to do that really last minute, because I don't think they will have a good experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's just how it is this year. It's just a continuation of the pandemic problem that we're going to have a few less people than normal.
Yes. And what is the expectations of the American ultramarathoners with Badwater after so many times because of this pandemic situation?
Well, at all the races, people are just happy to be racing again. I was in a 10-kilometer trail race last weekend. It was the first race allowed in Los Angeles County since before the pandemic, and everybody was just so happy to be there, so excited to be in a race and to be racing and to put on their bib number and to get a time and everything. So people just really want to race again. And so I think there will be an extra, there's always a lot of positive energy at the Badwater 135. But this year, after missing the race last year, after the pandemic, I think there will be even more positive energy and enthusiasm with all of the runners and the crew and the staff. Like, we're just all really excited about it. And we feel like this represents getting back to our normal life. Even though it's crazy to run 135 miles as something normal, it's normal for ultra runners and normal for the Badwater family to do that. And so we're just excited to be there. But we won't really have too many changes because of the pandemic. The pre-race meeting is going to be online 1 week before the race instead of in person. And just a few small things like that will be different. The start line of the race, the crew members will not be able to go down to the actual start line. It'll be the runners only, and the crews will just be up above looking from the parking lot. Just some small changes like that. So we're just happy that we're allowed to have the race. We have to get permits from many different levels of government. And so we're just thrilled and excited and honored that we can do it.
Yes, yes. And what we are seeing in the news about USA is that you are faster than us in vaccination situation.
Well, this is an advantage of America having all of the pharmaceutical companies located here.
Yes, yes.
And other countries are having to try to buy them from a foreign country, whether it's US or Europe. And so it is an interesting situation to see that in America, more than half of the people are vaccinated. And then in some countries of the world, it's only 1% of people. And I don't know what the perfect solution is for that problem, but I certainly acknowledge that it's not fair. And that I hope from this pandemic that we as a community of all of the countries of the planet will work together better in the future to get vaccines to everybody more efficiently and more quickly. Because California is actually doing the best of all the American states. And so, yeah, because I've traveled so much and studied other cultures and languages, it bothers me. On the one hand, I'm like proud that our country is doing so great with handling the pandemic, but it bothers me at the same time because everybody should come up, and everybody should be getting this. And it's sad that that's not the way the world works.
Yes, yes.
It's, the world is not perfect. Nothing's perfect. And there's too much competition between the countries instead of collaboration.
Yes, yes, for sure. This is so sad. This is not so easy. Here in Brazil, we are facing a lot of challenges, politics, economics, a lot of challenges with this pandemic, and this is not so easy for us, for sure.
Yeah, I understand, and I send my sympathy and best wishes to everybody in Brazil because
thank you, boss.
I want everybody to be healthy and happy and able to run ultra marathons. So, running an ultra marathon is sort of a silly, frivolous thing in some ways. But at the same time, it really represents personal growth, personal freedom, personal health, personal adventure. And when it comes to races that bring people from multiple countries, it represents, personal connection with people from other parts of your country or other countries and other cultures. And all of that is really important and meaningful to, us as humanity. So to me, having the races come back, but also come back internationally with people traveling, that's going to really represent that the whole world is doing well. I'm thrilled I'm going to have a race, but I'm disappointed that I won't have 100 runners and that they won't be representing 25 or 30 countries, and that there's nobody coming from South America. I mean, that's very unusual and unfortunate. But we're doing what we can, and people will be happy to be there. And, we will run in solidarity with people all over the world. And, hopefully by next year, we will be back to having 25 or 30 countries represented on the start line, including several from Brazil and from several other South American countries.
Yes, yes. This is what we expect for, that in 2022, several Brazilians will attend Badwaters and for South America also.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Yes, yes. And
that's our goal, it's our dream, and we just have to make it happen.
Yes, yes, for sure.
I mean, there's so many crazy things going on. For example, we have runners in Russia and Ukraine who can come to the race no problem. But from the United Kingdom, no. And the United Kingdom is America's closest ally.
Yes.
Also has the highest vaccination rates like America. And yet right now they still can't travel here. It doesn't make any sense. There are so many crazy political considerations being implemented that it just makes no sense.
Yes.
And especially with vaccinations and testing and all of that, I'm just really shocked at how crazy it is which countries people can come from and which ones they can't. But there's nothing I can do about it. I'm a race director. I'm not a politician. And even if I were a politician, it's only the president of the United States who can make these decisions in America. Mm-hmm. And then the other countries have to make their own decisions about what they will let their people do, or where they will let their people come back from. Mm-hmm. And so it's complicated all over. But we're going to have our best possible race this year. And next year we'll be back to, a much more international race, and we'll have Brazilian people carrying their beautiful flag across the finish line again.
Yes. This is what we are expecting for.
Yeah.
And Chris, I was checking your website and I checked that you have a Badwater Ultra Cup. What races are included in it? I would like that you explain to us what is Badwater Ultra Cup.
Well, okay, so when I took the race over, it was very small and not well known, no website, etc., and it was very American. Mm-hmm. And so I started the race, took it over in 2000, and every year more, people were coming from all over the world, and some of them were coming every year. Mm-hmm. If they weren't racing, they were on a crew or on the staff or something. And these people were coming together, and everybody talks about the Badwater family, and how the Badwater 135 is the Badwater family reunion. And, one of the thoughts I had with the Brazil 135 was that this is a new race that our runners could go do, but also it's a new race that could bring new runners into the bigger Badwater family. But it wasn't until 2013 that I started my own next sister race for the Badwater 135, and that was called Badwater Salton Sea, which is the name of a place that's also below sea level in far southeastern California, and they run from there to the top of a mountain west of there. And so it's sort of a junior version of the Brazil 135. It's 130 some kilometers, it's 81 miles, and it does 2 mountain climbs instead of 3. And so I started that in 2013, and ever since we've had Badwater 135 veterans competing, but we've also had new people coming in and joining the Badwater family at the race. And then the following year, 2014, I decided I wanted a race on the East Coast of the USA because, like your country, our country is huge.
Yes.
And I wanted something on the East Coast, and there's a place called Cape Fear, which is just a really cool name.
Yes.
And I wanted to know if it was possible to have a race there that would be worthy of the Badwater name. And so I went there, and I was able to create a race that's 51.4 miles, so it's 80 kilometers, and it's 10.5 miles, or about 17 kilometers on roads, about 1.5 miles or 2.5 kilometers on a trail through a forest that's really narrow. It's kind of like a jungle. And then the rest of it is on the beach. And so about it's 39 miles on the beach, is about 65 kilometers. And so I started that in 2014, and then I put the 3 races together and called it the Badwater Ultra Cup. So if somebody does the Badwater Cape, normally Badwater Cape Fear is in March, Badwater Salton Sea is at the end of April, Badwater 135 is in July. And so if people do all 3, they're called the Badwater Ultra Cup finisher. And then they receive a special fleece vest from Patagonia with the Badwater Ultra Cup logo on it and a big one on the back. And we award that in Lone Pine after the Badwater 135. And so it's really a 3-race series where each race is its own incredible Badwater experience, but they're in different locations. And then for those people who have the time and the energy and the ability to do all 3, then we give them this special recognition.
Okay, this is fantastic. And how many finishers did you have of the 3 races?
We'll have about 10, 12, 15 each year. I forget I think the most is maybe about 15 or 17 have attempted it. Not all of them will finish the final race in the series. The Badwater 135. I make their award for them. Their vest is ready for them. If they finish, then when they come to the pizza party after Badwater 135, then I award it to them. And then I've also had a few people do it as many as 3 times. And so the first year they get a vest. If they do it again, the next year they get a jacket. The third year they get a hoodie. And I had one runner who attempted for a 4th time, Keith Straw, and but he didn't finish the Badwater 135 that year. And I asked him if he wanted a special award. And what am I going to give him? Because he's gotten a vest, he's gotten a jacket, he's gotten a hoodie. What should be next? And I actually had this funny idea, but I wasn't able to do it because he didn't finish the Badwater 135. But I was going to make a little fun plan with him that when it was time to give him his award in front of the hundreds of people, I was going to walk up and just slap him across the face and say, "What's wrong with you?" But he didn't finish. So we've had a few people do it as many as 3 times now.
Yes.
It's a tough challenge, and it's also tough because they have to enter all 3 races, and the 135 is invitational, and there's no guarantee. But it is fun to see those people at all 3 races.
Yes. Are they all from the USA, the finishers?
Yeah, they are. Yeah. I've wanted to do like a worldwide Badwater, like a Badwater World Cup. But we're not quite ready for that yet. But it's still one of my goals to have an international Badwater World Cup on different continents.
Yes. I saw that you have a project now, and I would like that you talked about this project that is called the ArtSac, that you are planning to be held in September 2022.
Right. So this is Armenia and the area just east of Armenia, which has been a disputed territory called Artsakh. And so last year, we would have had the first race. It's a 6-day stage race. So each day the runners are going to do 35 to 50, 55 kilometers each day for 6 days, trail running, and they go point to point to point to point to point and stay in different villages or towns each night. The reason I want to do this race as a stage race instead of a ultra marathon is that I want people to have a culturally immersive experience. And so I want people to experience Armenian culture, Armenian food, Armenian music, Armenian people, Armenian everything. And so that was the idea of the race, and is the idea of the race. And the first race should have happened last year. We had 28 people registered as of February when I closed registration in March because of the pandemic. If we hadn't had a pandemic, the first race would have been August, September of last year with probably about 35 competitors. But the pandemic happened, so the race didn't happen last year. And now I need to go there again and work on everything to prepare for next year. Because the plan last year was I had put 90% of the race together already, but I was planning to go in March and then in June to have the race at the end of August. But none of those trips happened. So now this year I'm going to go in September and finalize everything and then launch the race the first week of September next year. So at that point, it'll be about 6 years in the making. So, I've been organizing different types of multi-day and ultramarathon sporting events since I was in high school. But I'm really looking forward to it because I'm excited to, what my races have in common is they're in beautiful places that most people don't go to. They have a really challenging route and they're really well organized and they have the spirit of Badwater. And so I can, with a lot of work, I can provide that same opportunity with those same values all over the world. Mm-hmm. And so this is where I want to do it next, to celebrate Armenia's culture and history and take people somewhere that most haven't been. And so next year, the plan is to host it from September 3 through 10, 6-day stage race. And and then we'll be closer to having a Badwater World Cup also.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I never heard about this Artsakh, this part of Armenia, and I had this curiosity to know about this part of Armenia. And do you think in other countries in the future to have this multiple stage race?
I do. I have a couple other locations that I'm working on. I don't really like to announce something until I'm really ready to do it. Mm-hmm. And that's why it was, there have been various setbacks with the Artsakh Ultra stage race. Mm-hmm. My father passed away 3 years ago, and so then that delayed everything a year. And then we had the pandemic. And so I've been promoting this race now for over 3 years. Mm-hmm. And I don't like promoting for that long before something happens.
Yes. So you are
right.
My
my biggest goal right now is for that race for this year's races to happen here in America and get back to normal, as we say, get back to normal.
Yes.
And then next year to have them again and have them all be much more international, and also to start the new stage race in Artsakh and Armenia. And then after that, then other new things will happen too.
Okay. This is perfect. Well, Chris.
Hopefully you can join us at more than one of these over time.
Yes. Who knows? I would like to. I like this kind of races where you could know the culture of the country.
Yeah.
Yes.
I do too, and that's like my only complaint about ultra marathons is people run through the night, which means they don't see a lot of it. Yes. I mean, I know it's interesting to run in the dark, but they're also not seeing certain things. And when you're running in a place like Armenia and Artsakh, these are 1,000-year-old churches and monasteries and villages, and there's so many interesting things to see. I don't want them to miss anything. But I also don't want people to just run from here to there, finish and fly home without really experiencing what each place has to offer.
Yes.
And that's why with my Cape Fear race and my Salton Sea race, I have little activities before the race, hikes and runs and social meetups and things like that, because I'm hoping people will come even 1 or 2 days earlier and learn about the area and enjoy it more. And that's why I love these stage races.
Yeah,
because people run for 3, 5, 6 hours a day, maybe 8 hours, but then they still get to hang out with the locals and with one another, in the afternoon and evening, and and some of the nights we'll actually go to restaurants and things like that. It's not going to just be camping food. In fact, we're going to carry everybody's gear, so that when they're running, they can focus on the running. Like most of the stage races, they make the runners carry all their food and everything they need for the whole 6 days. We're not going to do that at all. We're going to transport all of their stuff so that they can just focus on the running and the experience.
Yes. And a run in Europe is like, it's kind of difficult because I had the opportunity to do the Munich Marathon in Germany in the end of 2019, and I was trying to do a marathon under 4 hours, but when I was running, I was seeing churches and there's so beautiful places in there, and in Europe everything is so historical.
Yeah.
And I was just worrying about the race, but in Europe is so historical, the buildings, the churches, it's so fantastic in there.
Yeah, that's why it's a shame that, there's so much fixation on the time.
Yes.
And it's great that people win races, and it's great that sometimes records are broken,
Mm-hmm.
but really it's the slowest people who had the best experience and also were the toughest.
Yes. Yes.
Because 135 miles of running is really tough. But if you do it in 22 hours versus 48 hours, which runner is tougher? The slower one. And everybody's always impressed by the winners, and especially if they break the record. And it is impressive that people can run that fast. But for them to have the equivalent of experience of the 48-hour runner, they should do the race twice. And then they will have suffered as much as the person who took 48 hours. And that's why we always celebrate everyone at the Badwater 135 finish line receives the same award and the same recognition, the same buckle, the same t-shirt. And then in the magazine the next year, I put pictures of the first man, the first woman, the last man, and the last woman in the magazine. Because everybody who can finish these things is a superhero. But the reality is that the slower runners, I think, have the best experience. It may be more painful, of course, but they have the greater experience, and they also spent more time out there and absorbed everything more.
Yes, for sure. And the Brazil 135 has the same spirit. Is it, Mario?
I can tell you that Badwater changed my life, and we've been learning that some people say almost the same thing, that an experience like that changed your life for sure. And Kostman is 100% sure. The last one are the one that has more difficulties and touches everybody. It's right. It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. This year we had the Alberto Cross that took 105 hours to finish Brazil.
Wow.
Yes.
And because considering that we were in the middle of the pandemic, does not make really sense to put people to race each other, but instead of just not having the race, will be better if you have something different that can be accommodated with the athletes' health. A lot of them that were already sent application, they start getting COVID, and so COVID was a huge problem among the ones already selected. So we cannot push people that the doctor, Dr. Robert Naon, told us, you can't push people when they are still recovering from COVID. And then we had the idea, okay, let's put 120 hours. But then people that does not have COVID and never will apply for Brazil 135, they apply. And this gentleman, this cat, is a very good friend of us. He's a policeman guy. And he was overweight. He was not prepared. But he said, I'm going to have this. And he finished in 105 hours.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. When you start talking about the last one, I remember I saw him. He, for sure, if we can measure happiness in numbers, his number is going to be huge, the biggest one.
Yeah, that's incredible. And that was really a good approach. And my hat's off to you that you figured out how to host the race, that you were able to host the race, and that you made various accommodations to make it possible. Most race directors don't want to work that hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They'd rather just say, okay, no race. Because, a 105-hour race is a lot more work than a 48-hour race. And all of those accommodations and things make it more difficult for Mario and for everybody involved with the race.
Yes, for sure.
So, most race directors don't want to work that hard. They already work hard enough. They don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. So it's fantastic what you did, Mario.
Yes. Thank you, Chris. And we still, and what I'm foreseeing, and I saw this back there in 2020, that we still have 2022. In 2021 was this shape. 2022 is going to be the same one. And I'm almost convinced that 2023 will be the same. 2024, no, we'll be back to our origin, the way that we were before and everything. And considering also that runners does not like to, nobody wants to be questioning, oh, what's gonna be, it's gonna be this way, this, that. So I'm already made my mind and already start talking to people that's gonna be 2021, 2022, and 2023, the pandemic years of Brazil and 35. So it's gonna be the same shape, the same way, nothing changes. 2024, back to the race.
Yeah. No, that's a great idea. And so hopefully I can travel there without any problem.
Yes.
I mean, if there's 120 hours, maybe I should enter.
We'll feel honored having you there, and it's gonna be hard. Don't get
No, I know. I'm not saying that's easy, but it's slightly more doable. It's definitely not easy.
Yes.
But I'd rather just drive up and down the course and take pictures and encourage people.
We're gonna have a support team for you, and you're gonna love it.
Okay.
Yes, perfect. So hope to see you in next year, Chris.
Yeah, likewise. I hope you can come here, and thank you for having me on your show, and good luck with everything with your show and with racing in Brazil, and especially with the pandemic. I send my best wishes to everybody.
Yes, thank you. And it was an honor to have you here, to listen you to Brazil, and hope that you in the future we'll be back here to talk about Badwater, about the other races.
That would be great. Thank you very much, and good luck with all the translating.
I'll be on vacation next week, so I will just sit here and do.
All right. Well, feel free to ask me if you have any questions or you need me to explain what I said.
No. I will make it. It will be an ultra marathon.
Yeah, it's a good one, hour and a half. So,
yes.
All right. Good talking with both of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Okay, we'll see you.
Thank
Take
you
care.
very much for accepting our invitation, and thank you, Felipe, for give us the opportunity to spread the news about Badwater in your channel. Thank you very much, Felipe. Yeah. Thank you very much, Chris Kostman.
Thank you, Mario. Thank you, Chris. Bye bye.
We'll see you. Bye.
You guys later. Thank you.
See ya.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.